Countdown. Good morning to everyone out there. Welcome back to the Going On Daily live morning show. Yeah.
Woo!
Today is Tuesday, February 8th. The month, the year, everything's just flying by way too fast.
Oh, yeah.
It's been way too long since they paired myself with Martin Blanco.
Hi, Ira. How are you?
I'm fine. Oh, and we already have Hugo is in the chat room.
Hello.
Woo! See, Hugo's alive and awake, and we're all happy. To make us happier, though, go on to our social medias. Let's see. We've got our. Let's try to mix it up. I'm going to try to see how fast Ron is. If you're on TikTok, let's see. Nothing yet. If you're on TikTok, you go to TikTok at RI Broadcasting. There you go, Ron. And if you're on Twitch. Come on, Ron. Let's see. Because I always do that in order. I wanted to see. Let's see if we can wake him up a little bit. It's Twitch at RI_broadcasting. For Facebook, it's Facebook at RI Broadcasting. And for everybody on YouTube, it's YouTube at spell it out, Rhode Island Broadcasting. And if you really want to give us a little lift, we would love it if you'd go to Patreon, because you can buy some merch for us. See, it's at Patreon at RI Broadcasting. You can get mugs and stickers and pens and share them with your friends and say, this is the greatest show. Here's some merch to remind you. All right?
Do it. Do it. There.
Yeah. So we were a little late this morning. Sorry about that, guys. But now we're back, and like I said, it's Tuesday, February 18th, 2025, and things are good right now. I mean, it's a little cold, but Martin, I hear you have a story that it's not going to be so good in the future.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. You know, word is out that there is an asteroid that is due to have
oh, no.
It's due to come very close to our planet in 2032. So we have a little time. And right now it's about
7 years.
Yeah, we're about 20. It's about 27 million miles away right now, which is a good place for it to be. But at 2032, it's going to get much closer. I think within 66,000 miles, which to you and me, you know, driving around, that's a lot. That's 66,000 miles. But for an object about 2/3 the size of a football field, that is uncomfortably close. So here, let me give you the good news, and I won't say the bad news, but the what we don't know news.
Okay.
All right. So the good news is, and this is, I picked this up off of a combination of NASA, their Center for NEO Studies, which I believe, I should know, but I believe it stands for Near Earth Objects. Also, I'm a big fan of the podcast, The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, and they were talking about it a week ago. So what they're saying is, well, here's the bad news. At first, there was a 1 in 83 chance that it was going to strike the Earth.
Oh my, only 1 in 8?
1 in 83. But now that's been,
okay.
been revised. It's now 1 in 48. Still,
I'm writing my will. That's it.
Still, probability of impact is low. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So what we're looking at, this is what might happen. It may be a miss, what they call a near miss. And what they think is that's what's going to happen. However, may not. There could be an airburst. Now, if it's an airburst, that means the impact is taking place in the atmosphere. There'll be an explosion, there'll be a fireball. And we've actually seen films of this happening, I think a decade or so ago in Russia or someplace in Eastern Europe. And everyone's dash cam caught this as it was happening. You can go look that up. And it's going to break some windows and it's going to make some noise, but we'll probably be okay. It could hit the Earth directly, make an impact crater, and depending on where it lands, that will determine, what's going to happen. If it lands in the oceans, which is probable, okay, that's good, but watch out on the coasts for tsunamis, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The worst case scenario, the current thought in the astronomy community is if there is an impact, it's not going to be an extinction event. It's going to be what they call, I think, a city killer, which is good news unless you happen to live in the city where it hits. But it may not hit a city. That's just it. Chances are very good it's not going to hit a populated area if it actually hits. So what can we do about it now? You're going to make your will. In 2028, okay, the asteroid is going to make a close approach to Earth. Still, several million miles away, okay, right, at a safe distance. But that's going to give us, it's going to be the closest to us until 2032. That is the time for us to get our best minds, our best people, our best and brightest all over the world, not just in America,
right. Gotta be everywhere.
And point their telescopes to this object and get as much data as we can. And with that data, then they can assess, has the likelihood of an impact changed? It may have reduced, it may be more. They'll get a better sense of where the impact corridor might be. And maybe we'll have some technologies that could intervene. Okay, so we have time. Okay, right now we have the talent. Do we have the will as a people to keep funding science sufficiently that we can take, good precautions for this? So let's hope yes. And if not, well, let's just hope it's just going to be a near miss.
Well, Hugo's hoping it hits North Dakota for some reason.
North Dakota.
A lot of open room.
There is a place I'd like to hit. The address is 422 Main Street in West Ark. No. Now, let's just up near miss. We get a chance to study it and we learn so we can better our defenses for other objects that are out there.
Absolutely.
There's only so much Jupiter can do for us. And Jupiter does a lot to keep us safe from these kind of bodies because of its massive size. And it acts like a wonderful shield for us, but it can't catch everything. So what we learn from this is going to help us for others. So there we go.
Okay, so now I'm probably going to ask you questions that everyone's thinking that you probably cannot answer.
Okay, if I can, I will. If I can't, I'll say,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Now, obviously, like you said, it's too soon for a trajectory to find out, okay, it's probably going to hit here, here, or here. No idea. But how soon? Like, is it going to be like 6 months out where they go, well, we have an idea now? Like, when do you think they'll have an idea where it will hit?
I couldn't say precisely, but the time to get the data is in 2028. So from that point on, we have 4 years. Let's hope. And it probably, they will have some data. And in discussions, if things are looking bad for an area, let's say, there should be time to say, okay, people, don't be anywhere near here and get an evacuation. Again, do we have the will for that? It's an interesting philosophical question. I'm not entirely sure. If people aren't taking measles vaccines, maybe they don't want to go. I'm reminded of, there was a wonderful episode of The Simpsons where they realized that an asteroid is going to come and it's going to hit Springfield. And at the end, it misses. And what they say is, I think Mo says this, he says, let's go burn down the observatory so this can never happen again. And the mob attacks and burns down the observatory. And I'm afraid that we're living in times like these, right? That we're going to go burn the observatory rather than cherish the observatory and learn from it, right? But if it tells us something we don't want to hear, there is a tendency, and some people say, well, it's not true, or that's bad, and let's destroy it. So let's hope that our best selves are on this, and because we do have the technology to deal with this.
Now, what would happen? And we've always heard about, well, if it's a direct hit, this will happen. And if it's a miss, then we're fine. Is there a distance that it can get close without hitting us that will still disturb, I don't know, anything out there?
I don't have a lot of domain expertise, but from what I gathered, if there's an atmospheric strike, it's not going to hit us, but it breaks some windows and cause some disturbances that if you're in the wrong place, wrong time,
right,
that might be bad, but it should not. Yeah, boom. I think Hugo said huge boom, right?
Boom.
But it's not a city killer. The impacts, if it does hit a populated area, the kind of numbers they talk about, and I don't remember them off the top of my head, but it's like, a nuclear explosion minus the poisonous radiation that comes with it. I mean, it's small consolation, but in a certain area, however many miles, things are going to be evaporated.
Oh, wow.
And you go out a little bit, there's going to be fires. And then when you go out, there's going to be destructive winds. But in terms of the whole planet, it's just going to be that unfortunate area, but not the whole planet, and no radiation. I'm really looking for the silver lining here, It's like, there's no plutonium, right?
Look, you can move, and then your little level town will become a tourist attraction because everybody will want to go and see.
Yes.
Like battlefields. Look what happened here.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Bruce Willis is in no condition to get his team and go up there and drill. And
Bruce Willis will not save us. Maybe Robert Duvall will. I don't know. Maybe.
Ooh, let's see. Yeah, let's find Space Cowboys. Any other movies we can reference when this happens? Oh my God. Now that's you when it happens, we're gonna look out for it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it could hit a nuclear plant. So Martin's looking on the bright side, and Ron's looking for any way to kill us.
Ron's looking I'm looking on the bright side. He's looking on the glowing side, if you
basically. He's right though. Oh my God, no, it's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. We're going to be on the air when it happens, going, well, it's not going to be here, right?
I think that Ron says if we have to pick a city, I think he's going to want to give up wherever the Yankees are that day. So,
wow.
He's not wishing for it, but it's like, if it's got to happen,
Then I got a few places to pick. Like people with bingo cards doing that. Hey, look, Arizona. Here we go.
Yeah.
Like you said, you would want to pick the place because he loves the Yankees. Now, I have a story now about sort of the levels of love in your family.
Okay.
Because I have a story here.
All right.
Ooh. Now, when you grow up, you're born and your family is around you, and you're lucky enough to have parents and siblings and all that. Those are the first people you love.
Mm-hmm.
They're there. They take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a certain affinity. These are my people. I love them. But then you grow up.
Yeah.
And you go out, you find somebody else. I'm being told that okay, not a problem, Ron. I got one wrong. I had it written wrong. So I'm going to stick with this anyway.
Okay.
So you grow up and you find a significant other. Chances are you have your heart broken a couple of times, but you eventually, hopefully, find that one person, and you love that one person.
Mm-hmm.
So now you still love your family, and you love that person that you've chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And there are sometimes battles between, well, who do you love more? Who are you going to save when it's mom and your wife? They always tell you, well, if we were in a storm on a boat and you could only save one of us, who are you saving?
Right.
But then life gets more complicated. Because then you have children.
Yeah.
And your children, I don't know about you, but most people, your children are your life. when they come into this world.
Yeah.
And you didn't even know you could love as much as more than you have in the past.
Yeah.
Saved by age.
Saved by age.
So Ron's willing to throw his mother in front of the asteroid, I'm guessing. So then,
tough choice.
You add one more level to this. I'm going to ask you, would you agree with my sentiment that your children are probably the greatest love if you could rank it?
For most people, I mean, there's something deep inside our reptilian brain that is urging us to protect your children, particularly when they're young, but even as adults. It's like that there is this innate sense of responsibility and love and affection that you must save them first. I'm sure there's exceptions, but I think that's a standard that's common. So children first.
So we would agree on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that.
Well, there's a woman in India, and she decided to take her husband to court because she believes that the level of affection, she's not getting the level of affection that she believes she deserves in the hierarchy. So let me just tell you about this story.
Okay.
She has filed a cruelty case against her husband because she claims that he cares more about their pet cat than her.
Okay.
So there is a justice there who has observed no allegations of cruelty or harassment were made in the complaint. It's just focusing on he cares about the cat. He pets the cat, makes sure the cat's fed. He doesn't care about when I'm fed. He doesn't show any affection to me. Save the dog for
doesn't stroke her behind the ears gingerly.
I wonder if he does that. He's like, oh, I thought I was petting the cat, but I'm actually petting my wife. The wife also complains because now you look like a Bond villain. There you go. $1 million. So the wife also complained that the cat attacks her, scratches her. The husband does nothing about it. What are you supposed to do with the cat scratch? I've had a wife and a cat at the same time. It did scratch my wife, and I went, stay away from the cat.
There we.
So
I don't know what to make of it. Well, cats are not children, so.
Oh, but what about the people who say these are my fur babies?
Oh, God, look. I don't know enough about Indian law to know if she has a case. I find this very funny, though. So he's not mistreating her, but clearly he's pampering the cat more. I guess he can make the case as the cat is helpless. It's a domestic cat, and if someone doesn't take care of it, you are an adult. But I'm gonna guess that they have deeper issues, and that the cat, it's just manifesting in the cat. But it is
absolutely
kind of funny. You love the cat more than me. There's some people whom I think they do love the cats more than their spouse. I think.
Sometimes when you come home, I'll go straight for my dog instead of anybody else.
Sure.
Well, anyway, you asked, you don't know enough about law, but I can tell you what happened. As he got off fine, and the judge scolded her for bringing such a frivolous case. Exactly. And cases like this are I can't speak today. Are clogging up the criminal justice system.
Okay.
And investigations toward real cases at hand that they have to get to.
Sure.
The court, of course, ended up just throwing out the whole thing.
Okay. Now, did you say this was in India or Indiana?
India.
Okay. Well, that seems reasonable. Again, I don't know Indian law, in the law of India, but it has a hint of frivolity to it. It really does. And I think they should go. But I think her feelings may be real. I don't know if a court of law is the place to work them out. That's my interpretation of the case.
That's something you complain about to your friends when you're out at lunch.
Yeah.
I think he loves the cat more than he loves me.
Yeah. Friends, maybe, I don't know if they have therapy or marriage counseling widely available in India, but spiritual guidance, whatever. That's the place to bring up this grievance, not a court of law.
What I want to know is what is she suing for?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what is the end game upon this?
Right. What's the harm here? What do you expect? Maybe the
You
end
got to
game
get
is
rid of the
that
cat right meow.
yeah, either you get rid of the cat or you have to feed me before the cat. I don't know. How do you write up the damages if the court ruled in her favor? What kind of damages do you write? Interesting. Where did you find this story?
Online where you find everything.
Love it.
According to Ron, most divorcing couples fight over the custody of pets, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
true because you do sit there and there is legal precedent usually for children,
Yes.
But for pets, I wonder how they actually decide. In this case, I'm assuming if they divorce, and they probably will, the man is keeping that cat.
That would be ironic if he goes, no, you can have the cat.
I didn't really care for her much. It just bothered you. So
yeah.
it
Oh my
seemed fine
God.
to me.
I see the makings of an interesting rom-com out of this thing. Yeah.
That darn cat.
Yeah, that darn cat. Yeah. A classic.
I was gonna make a bad cat double entendre, but I guess I'm going to stay away from that story right
Fair
now.
enough. Fair enough.
Now,
but it is interesting. Who do you love? Your orders of magnitude. And there are, the other real tension is sometime between spouses and the in-laws, that there's this pull, like I'm your mother, or I have to this, that. And, it's fair, but sometimes, you get into a relationship and let's just say your in-laws are not nice people, or they don't like you. And I'm understating it here, right? But what do you do? And then it's up to the couple to look at the dysfunction and say, okay, we have to put this in a box here and what's right for us. And then, but that's a real thing. We can joke about the cats, but that's a pull, I think, when people are coming up with these orders of intimacy, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a tough world out there.
Oh my God.
It ain't easy.
It ain't easy, but you're going to talk about something sweet, or maybe how something became sweet.
Oh my God. The story of Valentine's Day, I think, is one of the most hysterical things there is, because it's probably not what you think at all. Let's start off with Valentine's Day today. I look at it as two ways. You are pampering your children with, we love you, and here's a Valentine. Now you have to bring Valentines for everyone at school, which is a real pain in the neck.
Yeah, I remember that.
In our day, right? Maybe if you did something at school, you pulled one name out and whatever. Now you have to get everyone for your class. Every Valentine's Day, 2 kids. I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot of busy work. I'm not happy.
Yep.
But okay. That's one level of Valentine's Day. And it's like to your kids, we love you. Happy Valentine's Day. Have some candy. They get the hell out of my face. All right. The other one is the sort of romantic, and let's extend it out to perhaps, erotic sexual celebration. It's Valentine's Day. You know what that means? Yes, flowers, candy, underwear, all that. There is this salacious, it's understood. Well, this is a day to celebrate love in all of its manifestations, physical love. Okay, so rarely do we give any attention to that it is a Roman Catholic Church holiday for honoring St. Valentine's. That is completely out of the picture, commonly spoken. All right, so how did this start? We have to go back to ancient Rome, okay, before the Caesars, before the Republic.
Okay.
And in Rome, there was a festival in February called Lupercalia. And Lupercalia honored the goddess Faunus, the god, not goddess, I'm sorry, the god of agriculture, and the storied she-wolf Lupa, who was said in mythology to suckle the twins, the orphan twins Romulus and Remus, who suckled at the she-wolf, and they would go on to found the city of Rome. Okay, so it's an agricultural festival. Okay, and when you're talking about agriculture festivals, you're talking about sex. Okay, it's about, now, talking about the sex of the agriculture, but this is mirrored, or it's played out in human form. So this was what the Lupercalia festival was. The young people of the civilization, let's say age 15 or up, certainly people who are mature enough to be sexually active.
Right.
The young men would go and they would tear off strips of skin from the sacrificial goats and then
Oh,
dip
thank
this
God you said goats.
goats, yes. And then they would dip the skin in the blood of said goats. And then all the young women of similar age would go parading about or running about. And as they did, the young men would smack them with the dripping blood of the skin, strips of skin of the goat. And then
Wow.
afterwards, after that parade, if you will, okay, later on, the young ladies would enter their name in an urn, and then the corresponding eligible young men would pick a name out, and then that young man and that woman would go off together for a year. They would not get married, but they would live together, and they were expected to engage in prodigious amounts of sexual congress in order, to keep.
So basically, it was medieval Tinder.
Beyond, but ancient, medieval's positive.
There we go.
Okay, comparatively, and the idea was this act of sex is going to keep the god faunus happy, and then agriculture will also reproduce, and the crops will be good. Okay, and at the end of the year, they go off, and then you wait until the next Lupercalia, and you do it again. And sometimes people do 3, 4, 5 of these before they actually got married. Okay?
Oh, wow. So you did have a choice, though, to finally choose one.
Yes. But in the meantime, you sampled. Now, whoever you pulled out, you were with that person for the year. Sometimes that was good. Maybe it wasn't. But, you only had to endure it for a relatively short amount of time. Then you get another crack at the Lupercalia Wheel of Fortune, as it were. Now, that's how it started. Now let's go to 270 AD. Okay, the emperor was Claudius, not the Claudius that we know of the early part of the empire, the I Claudius series, but a different Claudius, 270 AD. He loves the festival. Okay, he loves the Lupercalia, but he thinks that young soldiers, okay, shouldn't be married. That men make better warriors if they don't have a family. So
it gives you something to fight for, was the prevailing opinion.
Yeah. So he wanted young men to not marry. Okay.
Wait, Hugo, just a man and a woman, or do they add more?
As far as I know from what I've read, just a man and a woman. But who's to say? Maybe different friend groups would get together and Lupercalia it up. It wouldn't be surprising. So now the emperor's like, no marriage, okay, for the warriors. Yet, if you were under 23, you didn't get married. Now, the Catholic Church existed, but there was a lot of tension always between the church and Rome. We hadn't gotten to the point where it was embraced as the religion of the empire.
Right.
And the church did not care for this new rule. You can't get married until you're 23, and the encouragement of Lupercalia festivities. And they thought it was an insult to the sacrament of marriage. And let me emphasize sacrament. That the church, it's not just a social contract, but this is a sacred sacrament where grace is going to be bestowed upon you from God. And now Rome is saying, no, you can't get married till you're 23. So there was some resistance, and none more than Bishop Valentine, who continued to marry young people in the face of this decree. And he was brought before charges, and he had a chance to back down with but he didn't. And he told the emperor, "You're wrong. This is sinful. We reject this." And he kept marrying people. So after a certain point, the Emperor Claudius said, "Okay, let's arrest him." They tried him, they clubbed him, and they stoned him to death. And for good measure, they lopped off his head, which made him, as far as the church was concerned, a martyr, because a martyred saint, you become a martyred saint when you spill blood in defense of the church.
Right.
So now we have that. Let's go 200 years later. Okay. 200 years later, it is Pope Gelasius. Now the church is calling the shots. It's 470 or so. Pope is in charge, and Lupercalia is still kind of a thing, but it's fading. He doesn't like it. He wants to stamp it out. But guess what? The people like Lupercalia. So they're not happy about this. So he goes, all right.
So you keep it. Right.
Find me a saint. Find me a martyr whom we can celebrate instead. And almost as if you went to Central Casting in Hollywood, they said, oh, hey, look, there was this guy Valentine a couple hundred years ago, around the time of Lupercalia in February, he had his head lopped off because he kept marrying people. Okay. So the church, the Pope says, okay, this is it. We're going to make the Feast of Saint Valentine on February 14th. We're going to honor the sacrament of matrimony through the honoring of the hero Saint Valentine. And in order to sort of like imitate the Lupercalia, he had the young boys and girls draw a lottery, but they wouldn't, they would pick names out of, it wasn't boys and girls. What they did was they pick out, in the urn, they picked out the name of Christian saints. And let's say you pulled out Saint Augustine. Then for a year, you had to emulate the life of Saint Augustine. Let's say you pull that
for a year.
For a year, you would try to emulate the saint as best as you could. Now, you could say, well, no one had any fun. I mean, what would you rather do? Shack up with a young person, or emulate the life of a saint?
I'm going back and getting the goat and the blood.
Right. So that was Valentine's Day. And so what continues today? Well, today we send cards. We're not emulating the life of saints, but we're pulling cards and sending people cards to say we love them. And then if you have kids or you're sentimental, you're being affectionate and sweet. And if you're single or randy, you're emulating the Lupercalia. So it's in the name of the church, the name of St. Valentine, but I think we've got a little of both going on. Everything I said is pretty much a true story. I did not make anything up about the Lupercalia or how Bishop Valentine came to his end. But that's how this thing started. And I guess Hallmark at a certain point ran with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Big business. But its roots are in fertility and sex. And then its second layer of roots are in love and emulating a true love in one's Catholic faith. And now we have a mishmash of that and other stuff, and chocolate. So there we go.
They take over. As a matter of fact, it's amazing. I really thought that you were just going to fast forward to the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
No, well, right. And that's a part of the history, not of the holiday, but what happened on that day, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't affect the holiday, but it does affect, certainly American history.
Oh, no. I don't think anybody meant to bring bullets to a loved one that day.
But, you see the violence too, though, right? Go back to Roman times where it wasn't just a fertility thing. The fertility rites were predicated or beforehand, you had to sacrifice a goat, skin it, and then whip young women with bloody strips of goat skin. That's a violent act. And that goes hand in hand in fertility cultures. When you look at the ancient cultures, there's this sort of, because with the blood, with the shedding of the blood, it implies rejuvenation of life. But unfortunately, that did not happen in the St. Valentine's Day massacre, but I guess if there's no blood, it's not Valentine's Day.
I always learn when I'm hosting with you. I love it. I really do. Okay. I think, like I said, though, if you keep bringing up science facts, we're going to have to get Neil deGrasse Tyson in here.
Oh, that'd be great. And he'll put us all in our place, starting with me. He's like, this is what you're wrong, punk.
Wait, so you're saying that everything that you bring to the table here, he's just going to go, no, I don't see it.
No, I mean, let's just say I go to the best of my ability. Sometimes his stuff is like a source. I'm like, oh, I don't know that. And I'll hear something he says and do a little deeper dive just in the interpretation of it. I suspect he could, not wrong. I think he could enhance it with a little more information, a little sort of fine tune it and get a little more precision. Yeah. He's very entertaining, very smart man.
Well, so far the show basically has revolved around love, loved ones, Valentine's Day history. Martin, I have to ask you, do you love music?
I love music. Can't live without it.
Most people do.
Yeah.
And we have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees
Mm.
for 2025.
I'm really ticked off because once again I was passed over. Okay, I'm really getting tired of it. I'm sick and tired.
Wait. Are you telling us that you have music? You have to put it on Spotify now so we can hear it.
No. I played a little clarinet in high school. That's about it.
So did I.
Oh, we should get together, do some Mozart duets.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to get the band back together here.
Yeah.
But it's New Year. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees have been announced. In case you don't know how it works, they send ballots to over 1,200 artists, historians, and music industry professionals, and anybody who is already a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The selection criteria, which most people I think ignore because it's just, I like that band. It just boils down to that simplicity. The criteria is supposed to be the artist's impact on music and culture, influence on other musicians. Ron says he should be able to vote. After hearing all your top fives, no, Ron, you cannot.
Oh, God.
And your scope and longevity of your body of work. The top 5 vote getters get it.
Okay.
So now I have 14 people on this list.
Okay.
And I want to go through real quick and just see if they meet that criteria to you and I.
Okay.
And whoever's out there, commenting.
All right.
The first one for a first-time nominee, and I would have thought it'd be earlier, is Bad Company.
Oh, interesting. I have forgotten about them completely, but when I was in high school, I listened to them a lot. A whole lot. All right.
I think that, I'm surprised that it's a first-time nominee.
Yeah.
Let's see. Impact on music culture. They're pretty good, but I don't know about their impact.
Yeah.
They weren't the band of the era.
I don't think people were emulating them in big numbers, but I think what they did well. And
I agree.
I enjoyed them in their time, for sure.
Okay. Next would be the Black Crowes, also a first-time nominee. When their music came out, it was different than everybody else's. I have heard of a lot of bands in the past 10, 20 years who have tried to emulate that, to me, more of a pure rock and roll sound. For them, they would be on my list. Ron says no, so of course we clash. Martin, what do you say?
I'm going to neutral. I don't know enough about them, and maybe that's to my shame, but it would, I can't weigh in. Maybe that tells you something too. Maybe that leans no.
It does. It absolutely does. Okay. Now the next one, and again, they call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Ron, educate yourself. There's more than 2 songs. Just because you know 2 songs doesn't mean everybody else does. Bringing us to, I don't know why they call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Mariah Carey. It's got to be the Music Hall of Fame at this point.
Because
Mariah Carey,
it's pop music, not rock or roll. Is it? It's sort of lumped. It's a big net. It's sort of lumping in all pop music. But when you think of, would she be in the same place as a Led Zeppelin or the Who? Why would you have Mariah Carey in that same group? But if you, with the broader net, if that's the reality, I'm not a big fan. But did she have an impact? Clearly,
let's see. Starting from Thanksgiving to Christmas, she has a huge impact now.
That's true.
She was one of the first women who really showcased that 5-octave vocal range. So I think she has to go in. That's just my opinion. Whether I like the music or not, I can see how she influenced people. You get the Ariana Grandes and people like that from there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, here is a shock for me that this is a first-time nominee because years ago, this was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And if I say the name Chubby Checker, first-time nominee.
Really?
Yes.
Probably long overdue. Okay.
I actually mentioned I work at a place and there are some younger people, some high school and college kids around. and we were talking about music, and I did say, if I mentioned to you The Twist, and they all knew what it was, obviously decades after, what we did.
Oh, yeah.
So, gotta be in.
Yeah.
Also, first-time nominee shocked about Joe Cocker.
Wow. Okay.
I get by with the help from my friend. Come on.
I saw him once on Letterman. I mean, I was in the audience for Letterman. They said his guest Joe Cocker, and I was like, "Awesome! Oh, that was so cool." I don't even remember what he sang, but he was great. Yeah,
he's amazing.
But again, not the question isn't does he belong in or not, but how is it that this is the first he's not been nominated before?
I agree. I wonder who's doing the nominating in this.
It's nice to see that there's some people really at the pinnacle of rock music, at that age that still haven't been nominated. So
well, Ron says it's a joke.
Lining. Yeah, now he belongs in. He belongs in.
Well, then how do you feel about other first-time nominee Billy Idol?
Huh? Not a fan, but that doesn't mean he doesn't belong.
Well, let's see. Have you seen like anybody else who's been like, well, that's the next Billy Idol?
Yeah. Okay.
So I like Billy Idol music, but
well, maybe he was such an iconoclast that will be known next Billy Idol. I don't know. Again, didn't do it for me, but I kind of see his place in the spectrum.
Okay, I will give you that.
There.
Next, we go to my favorite. God,
but they're only
it was the 80s. Yeah. Fake people are nominating, according to Hugo. Well,
AI ChatGPT is doing.
Well, I wonder if they are. Next is Joy Division and New Order. That was synth pop. That was we all remember from the 80s. That's all they knew was keyboards. I'm not a fan, so I'm gonna recuse myself from nominating them.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Not when you're talking about Joe Cocker, Chubby Checker. Come on. No. Yep. Just this is a hard.
And by the way, this is the first time we have Ron, you, and myself in agreement on this.
All right.
Next is Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Amazing performer.
Yeah.
She was different.
Mm-hmm.
She has a good catalog. Been around a long time.
Yeah.
Not a first-time nominee.
Okay.
You know what? Now that I think about, let's say, impact, influence on other musicians, scope and long. Yeah, I'm going to put her in.
Yeah. You know what? The thing with Cyndi Lauper is I think she's going to get in eventually, sooner or later. If you're only taking 5 and we've got to do something about Chubby Checker and Joe Cocker. Let's see how, the other nominees, if there's room for her, but I think she's getting in eventually. And
so she's 5 or 6. Yeah. Somewhere in there.
Yeah. Even Ron says she's close. I get, she deserves a seat at the table. Is it this year?
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I have feelings about this band, so I'm first-time nominee Fish. They're going to play one song, and it goes from this show, the next year, the following year. I'm not a fan, but I can see their impact.
Okay. Don't know the body of work, and that tells you everything. So,
well, that's just it to me.
Yeah.
The Grateful Dead is in because of what they did. Yeah. They influenced and gave us Fish. Who has Fish influenced to give us next? So,
yeah.
Outkast, who I do first-time nominee, a little rap being thrown in there, a little. I love Outkast. I can't speak enough to know if they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, though.
I'm sort of with you on that.
Okay, so we're in agreement on that. And then there's 2 more left, more in the rock genre at least.
Good.
Ron says that they're close at least.
Okay.
Soundgarden.
Soundgarden
with the 90s grunge movement. There's a lot of bands in there. They're a good band, but the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I'm going to say no, but to be fair,
Yes.
90s grunge, 90s music, any kind of pop music, I checked out at that point,
Oh, wow.
except for October Project, which I wouldn't call them rock and roll either, but they were phenomenal, short-lived. I think they enjoyed 2 or 3 years of success in popular music genre. But
And what were they called?
the October Project. Can't say enough good things about them and their lead singer at the time, Mary Fall. But that's me. That's where my tastes were going, and that's where I was busy with X, Y, and Z in my life. I was not listening to pop music, and certainly not the band that you just mentioned. I just don't know. I don't know.
Oh, it was all the grunge. In that case, you're probably not going to know, but the last one is the White Stripes.
Yeah, don't know. Yeah.
No, don't know.
I'm going to recuse myself. Don't know. I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone.
That's okay. So we can agree that Chubby Checker and Joe Cocker.
Without question. Yeah, they're going
Mariah Carey, and it looks like maybe Cyndi Lauper and maybe Billy Idol. And that could be your top 5.
Given the list of 14, I'm comfortable with all of those, even though I'm not a Billy Idol fan. But those are the nominees. There's room for him this year.
Well, Ron's saying the White Stripes should be in.
Okay.
I'm thinking eventually they should be in. I'm not thinking right now. And if you want to have your vote count, you can actually go online and go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Really?
And you can vote. And they take the top vote getters from the public. And that actually counts as a vote toward them getting in.
Oh, interesting.
So you actually can influence if your favorite band is on your
I've never done that.
list.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to go do it.
You're going to vote for the October Project.
Yeah. Well, Bad Company now. Now they're probably in number 6. There we go. But October Project, no, I love them, but they're not going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh.
But I am voting. I
think I'm going to do that too. I'm going to get around to that. Ron says he's voting. See, Ron, you wanted a seat at the table to vote, and now you can.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, again, there seems to be a theme going through this other than an asteroid coming to destroy us in 7 years, but it's things we love. We love our pets. We love our music. We talked about St. Valentine's Day's history, even though it was a little bloody. You're going to talk about something that is so near and dear to my heart, you have no idea, and that is Saturday Night Live.
Oh, my God. It's in the news. They just had the specials, the music special, the comedy retrospective. And a couple of weeks ago, I saw the movie about the first night.
That too.
Which I was very impressed with as a movie. And it was, all I could say is it's having me think upon the arrival of that show. And I think I was 12 years old when it came out. And it was like the show I've been waiting for for 12 years. I was on that day, October 11th, for me personally, but also for the world. That's one of those days the universe changed. Like when we landed on the moon,
absolutely,
the universe changed that day. Saturday Night Live premiered, even though that first show, some people say, I didn't think it was that funny.
They just showed it the other day.
Yeah, I watched it online the other day. I hadn't seen it in years. It was maybe, it had to grow to but it was a brilliant show. Absolutely. It was a brilliant debut. But that night, the only reason why I watched it was, I had a bedtime, 11:30 on Saturday.
Uh-oh.
All right. My parents were out. We had a babysitter. Babysitter did not give a damn what time I went to bed. And if I was up late, and you're a New Yorker, so you would appreciate this, I was probably watching The Honeymooners on a rerun on Channel 11. For whatever reason, I didn't watch the 11:30 version of The Honeymooners, or something happened, but I knew there was this show on NBC called Saturday Night, and I knew about it because they were doing promos all week with George Carlin. Now, George Carlin I liked, and then I said, "Oh, George Carlin's going to be good. Well, let me check it out." And so I turned it on, and that whole first show, Carlin did 3 monologues. They were great. I had that album of his, An Evening with Wally Londo and George Slaslow. I had the album.
Oh my God.
It's great. I still have it,
Amazing.
And so doing bits from that. the first time we see the Not Ready for Primetime Players, and Chevy Chase in the news is slaying me. The opening with John Belushi and Michael O'Donoghue, who was the head writer, would not often
Mm-hmm.
perform. I'm like, what, this sort of abstract, meaningless sketch, but it was dangerous. It's
It
like
was
that.
different.
Yeah, it was different. And they were taking the mores of TV variety show and comedy, particularly, and saying, we're kicking you out the door and we're bringing something else in.
Right.
And it was fresh, as you said, it was alive, it was dangerous,
Oh,
it was a new order. And then there was virtuosity in the performances. They all seven of them brought something very interesting and compelling.
absolutely.
Chevy Chase was the first name we learned, probably because he did that opening fall and say live from New York Saturday night, but then he would say his name every week when they did the news.
Right. I'm Chevy Chase and you're not.
Right. So you got to know him first, but it was a tremendous ensemble. So after that night, I was just, and what a show. Okay. There were the comedy sketches. Janice Ian did a couple of songs. Billy Preston did a couple
Billy Preston,
of songs.
right?
Albert Brooks. There was a film by Albert Brooks. Andy Kaufman.
Jim Henson did a Muppet routine.
Muppets. And I kept telling people who came to the show later, I'm like, the Muppets used to be on Saturday Night Live. What? Kermit, Miss Piggy? No.
Yes, no, not that.
Muppets. And they were funny. They were. It was different. And so that whole night, it was just like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Yeah, love it. So I told my parents the next morning, they said, how was your evening? I said, it was great. I said, listen, new rules in the house. On Saturday night, my bedtime is going to expand to 1 a.m. because I am watching the show Saturday night from now on. And they looked at me and they said, all right, seems reasonable. And within 2 years, they were watching it too. Everyone was. In school, I think by the 6th or 7th episode, it sort of caught on, but every week it kept getting better and better. And we're seeing, great people like Buck Henry, who I should do a bit on Buck Henry at some time on Going on Daily. It was so funny.
Right.
Buck Henry, Raquel Welch was a Candice Bergen, all of these people, Paul Simon. It was such, every week you're looking forward to it. And then the next week, I'm doing bits in school for people who didn't see it, and you try and recreate it for the people. And so 2 things happened a year or so after it came out. They put out a comedy record of some of their better sketches, and I bought that right away with my allowance money and listened to that ad nauseum. And then they came out with this book. I don't even know if it has a title, but it's like Saturday Night, if we can see it, Saturday Night Live.
There we go.
By Francisco Franco, but it's just this sort of scrapbook of early scripts and production notes.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
Sketches that didn't make it on the air. And I learned everyone's name. I knew all the writers. I knew about Al Franken and Tom Davis and Alan Zweibel and Ann Beats. And I was like, anything I could read about these people.
Yeah.
And so this was like my best friend, until, I should have been going out with girls, but I had this, instead. But whatever I could read about Saturday Night Live, and over the years, there were great biographies, comprehensive biographies of how this show came together. Rolling Stone put out a collection of interviews. I remember Playboy magazine did an interview with all the Not Ready for Primetime Players and the writers. And I think I still have that. I sort of tore that out and I have it in the file someplace. Because,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great read on how this show came together. But it's only important because the show changed everything. And the really incredible thing is it kept reinventing itself. It almost died out when Lorne Michaels left the show. The first
yes. Those 5 years were not pretty.
Yeah. No, and Joe Piscopo and Eddie Murphy sort of single-handedly revived it. And then Michael O'Donoghue came back and invested brilliance and danger into it again.
And Lorne came back.
And so because it reflects what's going on in our world today, musically, politically, socially, it's remained relevant. But the key is that they find virtuoso young people to come in and perform. They get meaningful guest artists and they get meaningful musicians. and it's done live. I mean, there's nothing better. But it all changed October 11th, 1975.
By the way, there is also, you might enjoy, there are 4 documentaries right now on Peacock, which, let's see, they show season 11, which almost killed Saturday Night Live because you had mentioned, and correctly so, and they figured out the formula. You bring in these young people. You bring in, but they didn't do that for season 11. That's the season they brought in Robert Downey Jr. and Anthony Michael Hall and Randy Quaid, and they brought in actors who didn't know how to write and didn't know how to perform live, and it almost killed the entire season. There is a documentary about a week of Saturday Night Live where, if you're a fan, and obviously you are, you know, Tuesday, they write for 24 hours. It is just Tuesday to Wednesday. Everybody writes, they stay up all night, and just to see, they present 40 to 50 sketches, and 12 get taken. And that's it. So you've been up all night doing your best creative work, and most of the time it's, sorry, not good enough.
You know, the story goes, the great Larry David couldn't get a sketch on that show.
Yes, right? He wanted to quit.
Which is amazing. But that's the other thing, too. It was a farm for cultivating some great talent beyond the show. I mean, these people were great on the show, but then what they would go on to do in film and television, I mean, you know, we could spend an hour talking about those people, right? It's unbelievable what that show did for entertainment in America and in the world. So.
And still does. And it still bothers me when people look at these sketches and they sit there and go, no, it didn't work. It's not fun. I don't like the show at all because of that. You've never done it. I've been on stage. I've been part of improv groups. I've taken classes. I've done it for the love of it. And I got to tell you, half the time it works. The other half is, oh my God, how am I going to get through this?
No, that's true. Yeah.
I'm doing it in front of a room full of, if I'm lucky, 100 people. They're doing it in front of millions. And still have to find a way to get through it. So
it's very true. You know, you have to, when so much is brilliant, there's always a couple of sketches in the moment that are like, that wasn't the funniest stuff. It's like, so what? You know, other things over time, they're funny in the moment. 3 years later, 20 years later, you're like, oh, that's not so funny. Or maybe it's uncomfortable in ways that it wasn't 20 years ago. So you know, there's mutability there for sure. But make no mistake, it was brilliant. Not everything has to be perfect, but there was brilliance. And I too produce a variety show, and it involves sketches that I improvise. They're written. I wish I had a team of people. I do most of the writing, but as of late, we've been doing this for 15 years. It's much more of a group thing. So, and a lot of it is coming from some of the other performers, which is really good. That was always the dream, to get a confluence of people churning out material, and we take the best of the best. And then even out of that, some things are going to work better than others. And you never know until you have an audience. The audience finishes the material for you. Then you know.
I have tried that, and I've been able to find some talented people. What I'm not able to find are people that are willing to work as a team. You really have to have no ego when you go in to do that kind of thing.
You check your ego at the door, and then you learn to trust each other. You know,
eventually,
that's a key. That's a key to success. And
so where are you, Martin? And I can join this group when?
Oh yeah, okay. So the show is called the Flagpole Radio Cafe. It's performed in Newtown, Connecticut. Our next show is March 22nd. The musical guest is Willie Nile. He's a contemporary rocker.
Wow, you actually have a musical guest. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, we have a house band and then rotating guests. Most of the time they're musical, but sometimes they're spoken word. We've had some great people on the show. We've had Tom Chapin. We had the late Peter Yarrow. We've had Livingston Taylor.
Nice.
Mary Fall of the October Project. We've really had some. So we had Tom Leopold, who was a Seinfeld and Cheers writer and a great in his own right. So we had some great people over the years. and yeah, and I'm in the midst of doing some writing for that as well.
That's
And
awesome.
we do 6 shows a year, but let's compare that. That's hard enough to every week for 30 weeks or so. You have to churn out
Well,
comedy.
it looks
That is
like you
hard.
just it
That's
looks
hard.
like you just found distribution because Captain Ron's saying he wants to air your sketch comedy show.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to get permission of the other artists. But why not? If they're game, that would be terrific. We used to air on WPKN Radio. That's an independent station up here in
Oh
Connecticut
wow!
for a couple of years, and then we have this project has had its ups and downs.
Yeah,
Most recently, the pandemic. We just didn't do a show for 3 years,
of
and
course.
so it's tough to gin up the machine. The engine of that when you come back, but it's great fun, and I have to say the music is wonderful, both with our guests and the house band, and our comedy stuff is great. I'm very proud of it. So, but that too inspired by Saturday Night Live. So
I absolutely love that, and I could talk about them, and I'm sure you could
oh yeah,
for hours more.
yeah. Well, but
But
we'll revisit them, right? But that first show was something special.
I agree, and it's amazing, and what it spawned and kept going. Talk about Hall of Fame. That's longevity.
Saturday Night Live should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame too, because that really it gave another outlet for rock and roll music.
Oh,
In the days
absolutely.
there was Don Kirshner's rock concert and and other things, but that gave it just a different avenue and the eclectic musicians they brought in over the years. It's just a wonderful.
Again, go out and watch the documentary.
Yeah.
50 Ladies and Gentlemen, I believe it's called 50 Years of Saturday Night Live Music.
Mm-hmm.
And if you saw the concert that they aired, I mean, you have Post Malone with Nirvana, you have Cher,
Mm-hmm.
you had, and of course, Will Ferrell and Anna Gasteyer bringing down the house as two of their music teacher characters.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. That is the job that I would want.
Mm.
But there are some people out there looking for jobs, and well, people are competing now. It's not all about the salary nowadays. And in the US, they have decided, well, salaries can be competitive, but what if we offered a different type of perk?
Mm.
What if we told you, everybody's heard of a sick day.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's heard of a personal day.
Mm-hmm.
There's even bereavement days. There's lots of ways. But what if I told you could have a sex day?
Oh, perfect. To go with the Lupercalia. Okay.
There we go. We're keeping the whole thing is fun.
Yeah.
We're in a circle right now.
How many sex days? What do you get? Like 10 days? Like, or just one a year? How many?
Believe it or not, as many as you need.
Okay. What country?
They are quote unquote dedicated time off for intimacy, health, and related needs. That's how they explain it to you. Imagine knocking boots instead of clocking in. They say the reason they're going to do this, Ron's saying he's in, the reason they want you to do this is because it makes you happier.
More productive, yeah.
And more productive when you come back to work. Your brain's clear. Hey, I just had sex. Everything's going great. Now, they surveyed 800 different staffing agencies, managers, and they went for all demographics. They went from millennials, baby boomers, Gen Z, the whole thing. And 50% of them said it's worth looking into.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I'm wondering now is, what if you're having an affair at work? Is that considered your sex day when both of you take off? And is your spouse going to find out, oh, you're taking off for a sex day, but you went to work? How does that work?
Interesting. These are the unintended consequences.
Well, of course, you got to figure everything out on that.
Right. And what if you had sex not on a sex day? Did that count? No, I guess you're taking the day off for. So what if you take the day off and you don't have sex? Let's say something happens that doesn't work out. Do you get that day back? This could be a human resources nightmare. To tell you the truth.
So wait, so what type of proof do you need to show that I had sex?
Polaroid photo. No, I don't know. Yeah, I
Well, what
don't.
if I come in a few months later and I go, ta-da, pregnancy? Now
There
I'm
we
going to
go.
need different
Okay,
days off.
there we go. Interesting. So what? This is this is in the planning stages. This is an
This is
idea.
in the planning stages.
Mhm.
This is being championed by an online pharmacy called Zip Health. So I guess they would sell more contraceptives and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
would go there. Yes, it's a PG-13 show today.
Okay.
So what if you say, well, I don't have a partner or I don't want to touch my partner or whatever. I'm going to be at work. Well, in Japan, they're offering a different perk.
Okay. Okay.
See, their economy is not doing so well, so people are not offering raises. So they do have to come up with different things
Mhm.
to entice people to work for their
Uh-oh.
companies.
Uh-oh.
So there's a small tech company called Trust Ring Company,
Okay.
and they are offering you to get drunk on the job on their dime.
Okay. I thought you were going to tell me they were actually offering you, sexual congress. On the, they were.
Well, I wish, but that they already took that in the U.S., so Japan has to be different.
Okay. So, so get drunk on the job again. That's interesting because presumably the former the sex perk is there to increase productivity. It sounds like to get drunk on the job would do just the opposite. So, but if you don't
You
have
are
much
correct.
to offer, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe in the long play it works out. I don't know.
but they solve this problem too, because you're thinking, well, the more you drink, you're going to get to that point where your work gets sloppy and you're
Yeah.
not doing your best. Well, you can go home. They have hangover leave. So if you go, I'm drinking too much, I need to go home. I'll come in late tomorrow on a weekend, maybe finish up. I'll stay late. I'll come in early. Whenever I feel good, I'm going to come in.
Interesting. The trend is interesting. The idea is like we don't have enough money and we need you to work, but what could we give you instead? And I don't know if managed well. These
Oh,
these are interesting. What we're talking about is quality of life writ
right.
large, and I think there's a yearning for that. People who are frustrated with
Absolutely.
their job, what's missing, not specifically, well, I can't get drunk or I can't get laid and get paid for it, but what it really is my quality of life is suffering because of the nature of this job, and can you fix that? And that seems to me within the economic grasp of companies. That's about a mindset. So maybe these ruminations are the beginnings of maybe we'll start a trend on improving quality of life at work.
Well, Ron's saying maybe it's a car testing company and they need test dummies. Yeah, you just put it behind the wheel and
there we
that'll
go.
work.
There we go.
But again, these perks seem like they're for getting younger people in the door.
Yeah.
If you're really with your family and you're in your 40s and 50s and so on, do you really, is that going to entice you to work there at that point?
Probably if you're in your 40s and 50s, you want more money. Full stop.
Exactly.
There we go. However, I don't want to speak for everyone. You'd be surprised.
Here's my bar tab. Can you pay for that?
There we go.
Well, we don't need to now. You can
Right.
drink for free.
Uh,
Hugo says, as an employer, these two options need to go.
okay. Yeah. Now, when I was working, I do freelance stuff now, and my regular 9 to 5 work got waylaid when I became a full-time stay-at-home parent. But recently, after the pandemic, I worked for AAA for a number of years doing. I worked in an office and I was supposed to do public relations, and I had an interesting staff, and they were all young people. For the first time in my life, I was not the youngest in the room. I was always the young guy. I was the oldest there, and I'm like, this is interesting. But what I found was these kids were all bright, but lacked focus, lacked direction, and didn't want to work. They just, and you would be wrong there were exceptions, but by and large, that was the struggle. And it was really a pain in the ass to be in charge of other people who did not necessarily want to be there. Whereas when I was working before in the performing arts, everyone who's working there pretty much wanted to be there. That was something great about working in that field. That by and large, most people are there purposefully and are excited about being part of something. This is the opposite, and that is no fun. Trying to get people, to do things who could not be less interested.
Well, that's just it. When you're working in the arts, it's a passion.
Yeah.
This is what we have, that one goal. Whereas when you're working, I'm saying at AAA, I'm guessing you're working for the paycheck.
Yeah.
Until I can do something else that I want to do.
Yeah. And, which I kind of get, but they didn't have the vision of this can be a stepping board to something else. Put in your time, work hard, learn a skill, and then move on to something. But again, I don't want to generalize. That was my experience with maybe half a dozen people, but it's interesting. Very different mindset.
Well, I hope you learned a lot and you had a lot of fun today, because this is our little passion project. We're here.
Yeah.
Because we love this.
Yes.
And as you can see, Captain Ron has put up. Martin, you want to talk about your podcast?
Hey, if you haven't gotten enough of me on this show, please listen to I Wish I Were a Prosciutto, streaming on all the major podcasting platforms. It's a show about Italian American food, the traditions and stories behind the food. You will laugh, you will learn stuff, and every now and then you might have a nostalgia cry as well. It's a very proud of it. It's a lot of fun. Wish I Were a Prosciutto. Check it out.
And as you can see, he has my YouTube page, which is youtube.com @CTD Podcast, which stands for Circling the Drain Podcast. And if you type that in, you're going to get us, and you're going to be able, hopefully, we say if you give us a chance, we'll give you a laugh. I believe we'll give you a few of them. But that's enough for us today. You're going to come back tomorrow, and Ron and Kenny are going to be here.
Nice.
And there's going to be everybody pile on for, just buckle down for Ron's top 5 and make it a great day. And remember, when you need some fun, come back to us, because we've got it going on daily.
Really. Bye-bye.